And here is a picture. It's a bit blurry, but it's of the only boy, looking for all the world like the only boy. And my sister Jerry, rocking what it has to be said, is the most extraordinary flirt I think I've ever seen. Was it the closeted lesbian from a King's Inn shop?
That was Mum.
Okay, so I think I'll carry on reading from the things you did, and then I'll ask you to ask any questions you might have. I'll take that off, Jerry, to spare your blushes. I'm going to read another short piece from the things you do, and I'm going to read about my mum, because she was born just across the road from here in Queen Eleanor Road in Far Cotton. She's been dead now for over 30 years, but I would like to bring her into the room with us today. This is a picture of her taken during the war, and I'm going to read about her war experiences. She was a bit of a case, my mum was. She was a very, very wayward teenager. She truanted school, she ran away from home. So when during the war, she met a sergeant in the army who was a very steadying influence. Her mum and dad were delighted, thinking, thank God we've got this wayward girl off of our hands. And his name was Bill Boxall. He courted her, he asked her to marry him, and a wedding had been arranged for Dorothy's 19th birthday in March. Now Bill turned up every Sunday to visit the family. He was the ideal son-in-law. And this Sunday, 6 weeks before the wedding, Bill didn't show up, and she never saw him again. What had happened was he'd taken off with £10,000 of the army's money, and he was never seen again. And £10,000 was a lot in those days. And she was absolutely bereft and heartbroken. And it's from this point that I'm going to pick up on my mum's war experience. And I have to say, given the vote that's just been won, thank goodness, in Ireland, it's quite an appropriate piece. I'm talking, of course, about the 8th Amendment that the Irish should put on there. This disappointment sent Dorothy spiralling into the arms of a plethora of young servicemen stationed in and around Northampton. They were Americans, Irish, Scots, here today and gone tomorrow, maybe never coming back. By the following autumn, Dorothy realised with dawning horror that her period was late. The double standards of gendered sexual behaviour and the moral absolutes concerning sex outside marriage for women meant that either an illegal abortion or a husband would need to be found, and quickly. First, she tried remedies she hoped would produce spontaneous abortion. This was a doomed enterprise involving the insertion of slippery elm bark into the vagina. The drawing effect produced was supposed to induce abortion. It didn't. She also tried gin and hot baths. This too proved fruitless. Fearing the butchery of the backstreet abortionist, she decided to pursue a husband instead. She'd been dating an Irishman called David, a quiet, unassuming fellow who had made himself the brunt of derision in the pub by drinking orange juice. The Glaswegian squaddy leading this macho bullying was another of Dorothy's conquests, Jerry. In honesty, she was herself uncertain of the paternity of her unborn child. She had dated Jerry a couple of times, but the relationship had fizzled out. She did, though, care deeply for the Irishman and decided she would tell him of her condition on her next date. Marriage had already been discussed between them, and David had made clear that his intentions were honourable. Before they met again, though, war intervened, and David was called into military action. She got a letter saying he'd be in touch as soon as he was back in Northampton. Dorothy knew that this would be too late. So she decided to swing it on Jerry. She approached him with the news, which he greeted with denial and a flat refusal to marry her. There was nothing to do but involve her mother. My grandmother, Fanny Monroe, was not a woman to trifle with. An interview between her, Jerry, and his commanding officer produced little resolution to the problem, but did provide her with the address of Jerry's own mother in Glasgow. It was to this good woman whom she appealed her case, with a letter setting out the predicament and suggesting a marriage at the earliest possible time. The Glaswegian matriarch replied by return of post, agreeing entirely with Fanny's assessment of the situation. Possibly sensing a degree of stability and social mobility for her son, she also sent a letter to Jerry, summoning him to Glasgow. Jerry feared his mum, and when she told him to go way back down to England and marry that wee lassie, you're no son of mine, that was precisely what he did. The marriage was an ignominious affair. Dorothy's family were prepared to stand by her in the getting of a husband, but not to condone her sexual indiscretion with any sort of celebration. It was a bitter cold December day, and Dorothy wore her best and newest dress, and her old coat made tolerable with a fake fox fur trim. For 3 months, she wasn't showing physically, but the tenor of the event left no one in any doubt as to its reason. Jerry wore the only set of clothes he possessed: khaki army issue fatigues, overcoat and private's cap. They journeyed to the registry office on the bus, and a summary service was conducted under the judgment eyes of town hall officials. Afterwards, the few relatives in attendance left, and the newlyweds went to the pictures. They were virtual strangers. Jerry let his new bride choose the movie. She chose How Green Was My Valley, showing at the Gaumont, a melodramatic tearjerker about a family struggling against the dramatic social changes wreaking havoc with their lives and their communities. This was the heyday of Hollywood, and John Ford's sentimental melodrama deftly underscores the values of hard work, family, sacrifice and inheritance. In short, capitalist patriarchy. Its message: look peasants, shut up and put up like these good folks, and you'll be rewarded in heaven. The picture, or at least the cinema darkness, also gave Dorothy the chance she needed to sob her heart out. After 3 days' compassionate leave, Jerry was posted into the 8th Army, into Monty's Desert War. Dorothy would not see him again for 4 years. 6 months later, Christine was born. Jerry wrote occasionally and sent watches and jewellery he'd stolen from Italian prisoners of war. Dorothy pawned this contraband, and with it funded a slightly more comfortable wartime lifestyle. She lived with her parents and worked while her mother cared for the infant. Dorothy was free, notwithstanding the child and her parents' continuing disapproval, to pursue the interests of a young single woman. And this, of course, she did with enthusiasm. David, the quiet Irishman, did return. He called for Dorothy 2 months after her marriage. She heard his voice at the front door and her father explaining, "Dorothy's married now, son, and she's having a baby, so you won't be able to see her again." This moment of pathos was a point for Dorothy on which her life turned. The possibilities of the past clanged shut behind her, leaving her locked in a future with Jerry Gibbons, the Glaswegian psychopath.